advice warning. The content presented in this presentation is intended for informational purposes only and provides general advice only. It does not take into account your personal objectives, financial situation, or specific needs. This information should not be the sole resource when making investment decisions. We strongly recommend you seek the advice of a financial professional. Good afternoon. Welcome to this week's edition of Bulls versus Bears.
Afternoon, everybody.
Jonathan, we've all had a bit of an active week media-wise.
Yeah.
You had the very special technical analysis edition,
Yeah.
or as we like to call it, the easiest version of the call possible. I noticed that the theme for that was worst and worst performers and best performers. So let me guess, 5 sells followed by 5 buys?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Because, and I this is what I said on the technical analysis special. Like basically, the way I say it is like you fold a piece of paper in half, and if the price is in the top half, it's probably a buy. If it's in the bottom half, it's probably a sell. And the charts just show that. So, so the 5 sells, the winners were lithium. So Min Resources and Pilbara took out the worst 2 spots. Dominoes,
which actually on the day they were up about 10%.
They were.
So it was a good time to sell.
Yeah. And then Dominoes and Reese were the other ones, and Stanmore. So even though Coles bounced, Stanmore being more metallurgical coal, suffered. And then the winners, gold.
Right.
So no, it's actually gold, defense, and there was an insurance company.
Okay.
A generational development group, Grant Hackett's CEO.
Yeah, right. There you go.
Exactly. Because that stuff comes up in my scans, but then because I'm on the call, I'm not that I had a position, but I might actually have to read it. And I was like, Grant Hackett's CEO, like talking about someone that's overachieved. Like,
well, I think for a lot of those swimmers, particularly that era, they all had a fairly dark few years. And no, deadly serious. There's a few got thrown off planes and all sorts of things. And but now, they've all sort of grown up and come back around again, I suppose.
Yeah. But, all I'm saying is, so it's not quite like, so like say Ealsey would have like seats on the board.
Yeah.
Like Grant was actually running the insurance division.
Oh, okay, yeah.
As a CEO, he ran, I don't know how long he ran that, but he was running it from 2008, I believe 18. And then just this year, he graduated to the CEO of the whole group.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, and it's a $2 billion market cap. They bought Lonsec, if you know the research company.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and that's why the share price is just boom. So
yeah, there you go.
Exactly. So well done, Grant.
Indeed, yeah, gold medal. Yeah. But, he certainly knows 1,500 meters. It's a tough old race. Now, obviously, this week, we've gotten all optimistic because 3 whole trade deals have been done.
Without any specifics, though.
No, none of them with any specifics.
Yeah, there's no actual tariff numbers, or they just said deal's done.
Yeah. Which, except for the British, I think there's details of that one, but they do a trade deal with Botswana. Like they would do a trade deal with anyone. So since Brexit, basically, they're Vietnam and the terms don't seem particularly favourable to Vietnam. Truth be told, the Americans released the details. As with all of these deals, the Americans have released all the details. The other parties have not released any of the details. They're very close with India. But look, Donald Trump and the Trump family doing quite a lot of business in India. There's 7 Trump towers in construction, and there's 3 already existing. And despite the fact that they said that they wouldn't do any more dealings over there, Donald Trump Jr. is pretty active because he's not Donald Trump.
It's okay.
apparently it's okay because those guys wouldn't talk, I'm sure.
No.
So, but this does bring us to, obviously, Trump's decisions coming up. Ukraine was supposed to be late June.
That was supposed to finish, isn't it? He was supposed to end the war.
Yeah. So I've just got a question mark there, but it was late June. Israel-Iran decision done. Big Beautiful Bill was passed overnight by 1 vote. But essentially, I don't think that's very good for the US dollar, or but like as the morning report was titled this morning, everything's positive. It doesn't matter what it is, everything's positive.
Yeah. So just on that, on the tariffs. So not that I follow it, but apparently the Vietnam stock market rallied something like 30-odd% on maybe not 30%, but it rallied to new highs.
It rallied a lot
on the actual
announcement. Yeah,
without details.
So what they're trying to do, I mean, there's still 30% tariffs and no tariffs on US stuff coming in. So it sounds like a pretty crappy deal for Vietnam. Although basically it's kind of if you don't let the Chinese ship stuff through you is where is the big thing. So I think those high-end tariffs are aimed at Chinese companies trying to look like they're not shifting.
Yeah, they're trying to circumvent the whole tariff.
Yeah, like Russia does with their sanctioned oil through China as well, where they run it through a Chinese port, rebadge it, and send it off. So I think the deal is more favourable the more they comply with that. But again, he's not exactly dealing with economic powerhouses here. Vietnam, I think that deal was mainly done that they were desperate and they need that manufacturing business because they're a second world country really. And secondly, was that it helps Trump negotiate with China, which apparently the negotiations are over, but there was more details come out this week. The chips they're going to loosen the requirement, the ability to ship chips, which is why NVIDIA and Broadcom and Qualcomm and all those guys are up this week, was that they're going to be able to sell to the Chinese, which they were doing anyway. Like the Singaporeans got caught, the Saudis got caught buying on behalf of the Chinese and then shipping them over anyway. So, and I sort of gave a bit of context in the morning podcast. This morning was when the chip wars are on, all this stuff used to go on all the time. Like the chips are a massive part of national security. So through the 80s, 90s, the Russians actually had it. They built an entire city dedicated to semiconductors, and everyone that was there worked on semiconductors. But stealing the American secrets was too slow to keep up. They were always 4 years behind. So it didn't really pan out for them, and that city apparently is now abandoned. But, obviously we can reverse engineer things a lot faster, and you can't get their hands on those chips realistically. Absolutely. But to be able to buy them, that's a bit of a boon for them. And then the TikTok divestment, Trump said he's found a buyer. Again, no details. And the government funding. So there was 2 Twitter spats this week with Donald Trump. He threatened to deport Elon Musk back to South Africa, despite the fact he hasn't lived there since he was a kid. I think he came from Canada in the end. And he's threatened to cut the timeline was he threatened to cut all of Elon's subsidies. Yeah. Elon said on Twitter, do it. And then Trump's come back with, Elon then said he's going to start his own political party. Trump then came back with, they're going to deport you. This happened at around about, it was Wednesday or Thursday. It was Wednesday night. And that happened, this was all within an hour.
Yeah.
So 2 grown men behaving like 16-year-old girls.
2 of the most powerful.
Well, yeah, the world's richest and the world's most powerful. But then that got forgotten like the next day because basically he came out and said that Powell needs to be fired, blah, 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 even though he legally can't fire him. So, I can't imagine what it's going to be like when we come up to next Wednesday when the 9th of July rolls around. So, and very predictably, as we said, as I've said for 2 weeks, the deal, the big, beautiful bill, or as I like to call it, the big, beautiful bankruptcy, had to get done by the 4th of July because congressmen want to go home for the 4th of July holiday. So, and surprise, surprise, 2 hours before it got done. Yeah. So basically you can probably thank one of the congressmen's wives for that because they were probably blowing up going, for the love of God, just voted in. Now it goes back to Trump to sign off. Massively unpopular, and I think they were largely bullied into it. But so we've got all that to deal with next week. So highlights of this week, JT, go.
So Domino's CEO resigned after only 8 months.
Yep.
So that stock traded down another like 16%. And the thing was, it was actually one of the worst performing stocks of the year. And then that announcement came out on the day that I had it on the call. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think shareholders are just, there's only so much you can take.
Yeah.
Like that's, I reckon that move was very much just throwing the towel in.
yeah, but basically it's a tech stock, so it can still go down from here. We just avoid that. Helia, that's the mortgage insurer. So remember,
lost another customer.
Yeah, so the first one was Commonwealth Bank, and then it was ING.
Oh no, ING. No,
ING is pulling their business or looking elsewhere. And Qantas, so they got hacked. So this one was a curious hack. It was actually a social engineering. So they've somehow convinced one of the employees in a data center or something to give access. And that's how they that's how they accessed all that's how they breached.
It was names and birth dates. Wasn't like credit cards.
Yeah, so apparently credit cards and frequent flyer status is safe. Thing is though, it just shows that look, even high flying companies, they're all getting breached at the moment. So a lot of universities have recently got done super funds as well. And one of the lawyers that I know in my network, that's how he makes a living. Like he basically just does class action lawsuits on data breaches, and he's like, mate, there's plenty of money coming up. So I'm like, okay.
Well, the thing about AI is that the criminals have got it too, and it actually makes it easier. So there was I got asked about this. I think on the COB on Ausbiz on Wednesday, because it was Wednesday when they announced it, and I think it's just a fact of life. And CrowdStrike was up, which is one of the biggest US cybersecurity firms, was up significantly this week.
Yep.
But realistically, I gave the example of how they're looking at putting verified images on the blockchain on Solana, because they have already said we cannot keep up with the pace of deep fakes, and it's exponentially getting further and further away from them. That it's at the point already where they cannot catch up. So we've got a situation where
the genie's out of the bottle.
Oh, it's gone.
Yeah.
And like, what are we, 2 or 3 years into this? Yeah. Like, we didn't even have it. Like, we started using it very early stage, and that was like, we're talking 2 years ago. And MPC, two years old today as well. So
happy birthday.
Yoo-hoo. Feels a lot longer. Yeah. But that's another use of obviously blockchain technology moving forward. Which will segue into another blockchain thing we thought was interesting this week. But basically your image will be verified on the blockchain, and therefore once it's on the ledger, the image. So it's like a copyright or a registration or trademark or whatever. But they're already doing it on the Solana blockchain. But that's just, I think people forget that AI is great and all, but the hackers have got it too. It makes hackers like infinitely more efficient.
Well, I mean, I know there's a state-sponsored North Korean hacking group which are best in the world.
Yeah, but they're on a Tandy 1000 from back in the day. Like, so
no, I'm pretty sure
using floppy disks,
which probably could be more reliable,
probably
or safer. Anyway.
No data breach on a floppy disk. But there was an announcement this week, just talking about the blockchain, is that we've got it's based on the Solana blockchain yet again, which is one of the DeFi blockchains similar to Ethereum, where you can buy the Mag 7 stocks on so you convert to Solana, 24-hour a day market, instant settlement in your name.
Wow. So,
and it's all on the ledger, which ironically is what the ASX spent $100 million trying to do and 10 years and screwed the pooch on it. These guys, so it's literally in the last sort of week and a half that it's been made freely available. But if you think about it, that's a real threat to exchanges globally, because it takes out the settlement risk. And Robinhood's looking at doing it, particularly, which is one of the biggest retail brokers in the US, but there's no settlement risk. You are instantly settled at that second. So there's no margin call. There's no nothing, like it's all
Problem is you have to pay for it straight away. Because I remember that was the one thing that the Australian brokers wanted. Like, yeah, instant settlement's fine, but we still like our T plus two. so then we have to pay for the trade straight away.
Yeah, I mean it's already pay on the day in the US anyway, so it's not really a big change for them. But just not having that settlement risk, I think there's a lot of there's a lot of people getting paid a lot of money to make sure that money comes at the right time. When if it could just be done instantaneously, what the hell's the point?
That was always going to be one of the. So I've been in the crypto space a while, and I remember at the beginning, when guys were going from TradFi to crypto, and they were like, if all we get out of this is a better stock exchange, I think blockchains fail. And like, it just shows you how long it takes to actually for technology to actually become adopted. But yeah, basically, here we go. So we're going to have stock exchanges on the blockchain.
So you'll be able to buy a Bitcoin ETF on the blockchain, on the blockchain,
on a competing blockchain, not the Bitcoin itself.
No. Well, Bitcoin's more of a store of value rather than blockchain technology. The blockchain lead is really Ethereum and Solana at this point. We do have a product coming up which we'll talk about later in the show. But US stocks wise, Northrop Grumman. I always struggle.
Did I misspell it? Is it Grumman?
No, it's Grumman. Grumman, sorry. Anyway, NOC is the stock code. How about that? They secured a $40 million contract from the Department of Defense. Raytheon as well was awarded a $77 million contract. Boeing got a $61 million contract for all. These are all defense.
Yeah, so that's the thematic there.
That's the theme of the day.
And even the ASX companies, like DroneShield got the
was it? Yeah, it was a $49 million. It might have been a $60 million contract.
That was like late last week. So that's
and we're talking about a company was $190 million in total revenue ever.
Yeah,
and they just got 60. So they skyrocketed from about $1.70 to, I think they got to $2.60 at one stage.
Yeah.
Thank God we didn't stop out at 60 cents 2 months ago.
But it shows you that's with Trump forcing Europe to actually spend money on defense. These are the incumbents, and these guys are going to be the winners there. Yeah.
So we didn't go with Boeing because it's really only about 45% of their total revenue, and you've still got then they had that plane crash, right? So we don't invest in Boeing for defense because it's the waters are too muddy in terms of if they split it off, love to Boeing Aero Defense and Aerospace would be great, but it's just a subsidiary that's still listed in the same entity. That's probably for a reason because a plane crash, a commercial airliner plane crash would have created that stock, and I think what it does diversify and stabilize the stock price. But RTX Raytheon is one of our absolute faves. Is just very much across the board. Northrop Grumman it's like your Telstra. It's more in that Lockheed sort of. They're very, very stable. Been around a long time. Dividend, low PE, but growth not so much.
What's their tech? What
it varies, but electronic warfare avionics integrated support facility.
Oh, that.
Yeah. But real-time infrared electro-optic scene simulator and electromagnetic environment simulators. Look, I don't know what any of those words are. So, but it sounds pretty impressive. Electro-optics, space lasers. That's all that says to me. But again, we've been on the defence thing for a while now, and we will continue to be so.
So just going back on the technical analysis, the hottest stock in the ASX 200 of the year was ASB, Hostel.
Yeah, right.
So that was the actual winner, defence.
Which is surprising considering that's not that's probably it's the lack of a better choice because it's a larger cap. Probably because it's not the best defence company in Australia. That's for sure.
Have you seen the actual pictures of the ships they build?
Oh, look,
they are not pretty, but they're not speedboats. So I'll just say that. Yeah. I'm sure they're worth a lot, but they don't look pretty.
Yeah. I worked out what basically there is $1 trillion US in extra spending in the next 3 years coming into the market. So
that has to go somewhere.
Literally that has to go into the defence sector.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 1% of GDP. I got. Make no mistake, I didn't work this out myself. I asked GPT what is the nominal amount. It was $1.08 trillion is the expected increase in defence spending across the globe, and there's not that many companies around to be able to do it. That's a lot of money to be shoved in small companies.
Yeah.
So DroneShield alone's up for $1.1 billion in contracts this year. So it's, mind you, it got to over a $2 billion market cap this week for a company that's only ever done $250 million in revenue in 10 years of existence. But look, that space will stay hot for quite a while. So we've got the market map, pretty green.
Green. So
Tesla, because their CEO is getting deported, they're down nearly 3, but probably they bounce back pretty quick.
Palantir's down, AMD, everything else is pretty green.
Yeah, Palantir's only down because I think it was up an absolute crap load the previous week. But just look, generally pretty green. The banking sector's been doing quite well.
So one thing I've noticed is the whole finance sector, not just in Australia and America, but actually all around the world. So I've started to scan the US stocks to help with Global Alpha, and there's just banks in Asia, banks in Canada. They're all at record highs, and I'm just like, wow, it's just a worldwide phenomenon.
And one pattern you'll probably see is like services. All these companies, these are technology services, consumer services, all had a very good week because that employment number was 147,000, despite ADP having its worst negative reading in 2 years or something like that. Apparently what's happening is the Doge, because I just could not work it out for the life of me, and it's been bugging me. The states are picking up in the US, they're employing people. It's still government jobs, but they're going to the states. So
instead of working for the federal government, I'm working for state government.
That's what must be where a lot of them are transitioning to, because it was something didn't add up.
Yeah,
obviously. And I think with the gig economy as well. I mean, do you classify yourself employed if you're driving Uber? Like it's probably a lot. It's not real, because you can do package delivery or Uber or whatever. Maybe you're not classified as unemployed anymore. Maybe to be unemployed, the bar's a lot higher or lower, whichever way you want to look at it. But
well, I guess with that Uber thing, like you can either deliver food, packages, or people. So there's definitely a market for that. But the robo taxis coming to get you.
Yeah, the robo taxis are coming to get you. There's been a couple of great videos this week actually on Twitter and social media. The more people get used to it, the more it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think unless Uber's going to go and buy a fleet of Tesla robo taxis, very cautious, because they've got people nipping at the bud locally and every restaurant I've ever been into hates Uber Eats.
Because of the clip.
They got a lot of them in our area. I live in north suburbs of Sydney. They're going back to getting their own delivery drivers, and they're only running Uber Eats at exorbitant prices early in the week, basically. So they're kind of working out the model a little bit. Commodities. Yeah.
Oh, it's platinum down that far. Like it's hit a new record high. I mean, like I'm not too sure about the.
No, that is correct. It got to a record high and got smacked up a bit, but like it was up. It's because of this is a 5-day rolling. So that really big night up was minor. Literally dropped off yesterday.
Yeah. So my main observation is that gold is not like, it looks like people are rotating out of gold for the store value and starting to rotate into a little bit more silver, a little bit more copper, a little bit more platinum. Platinum did make a new record high. And as I said, like a bit of I watched it on another podcast. It wasn't that long ago that platinum was actually more expensive than gold on a per ounce. And it is a lot more rarer than gold itself. So it
Yes.
should be. So I remember when I first started, gold was like $300 and platinum was like maybe 800-900, and then gold's rocketed to 33 and platinum's still around 12 or 1400 now.
Yeah,
So,
and I mean, look, it depends on how far you want to go back, but silver is one of the cheapest levels it's ever been in history compared to gold, compared to platinum, compared to just about everything. So I did put a tweet out last night, though, going, because the last time silver got to the 15-year highs, it got to within 20 cents last night, everyone was like, silver's going to $500. Like, we're talking at, what's it, 37 at the moment. And I just put out I did one of the little AI generation of a silver bull going, shh, and just like, none of your batshit crazy, like, theories about how in your doomsday we're all going back to silver. We're not going back to silver. Like, unless someone like detonates an EMP device that fries every digital device in the world.
Exactly. But from a price action, so 35 was the resistance, and it's very comfortable. It's like 36, 37, 36, 37.
It didn't breach that 35.50 on the way back
just as long
down.
as it stays above that level, I think it's still very constructive for silver, and kind of just waiting for that big move to
that and copper seem to be just almost like a pressure cooker. They're just building up pressure, and European session seems to be when silver goes the most. It's been usually I check it around about 6, but between 6 and 8 o'clock at night and our time, which is sort of early to mid-morning Europe, that seems to be when the big movements are, and then it just sits for the rest of the session.
And iron ore. So all the miners have had great weeks this week.
Yeah.
So it looks like that rotation from out of the banks and into the miners is starting to continuing. So iron ore has had a nice big week. Coal up as well. And, big bounce for lithium. So nice.
There's two words we haven't used together in a while: bounce and lithium. As
we said on the technical analysis special, the gold and silver spots for the biggest losers this year were lithium, and so it was Minres and Pilbara.
Yeah, which Minres is kind of
So Minres,
not only lithium; they've got other issues. But
one thing I did say on the special is that I didn't check it before going there, but I would like to know what the short interest is on.
It's dramatically dropped. Yeah, it's uranium now.
Okay, so everyone's shorting uranium.
Yeah, so they switched out of lithium quite a while ago, and then it just leading into March, April, and then the market got hammered. They basically at those lows they're out.
Yeah.
So
I think so going forward, if we do see decent amount of shorts in a commodity, and we're in some profits, maybe we look elsewhere because
we haven't been in lithium for ages.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like that's an actual decent signal. Like the shorters aren't piling in uneducated.
Not for that much volume, but I mean uranium. I think they'll be significantly wrong, and they are trying to cover pretty. They've gone from 25 in Boss down to about 16 now. It's the first time I've had to see them cover, but they haven't had to cover. Cost them much.
Yeah,
still making money. So I don't know how much of a big deal that's going to be, but the Australian uranium stocks are still just stupidly cheap.
I think what we'll have to check out is like obviously Australian market's so small, maybe it's just easier for them to short it, and then be long the US and have some sort of stat arb play that way. But
who knows?
But I'm just saying, like, just be aware that there is when there is a large short interest in there, it's one thing to keep an eye on.
Yeah, so and there's a lot of stocks that get picked on as well. But I mean,
I'll say Bitcoin nearing 110, so it's almost breaking out to new highs, and some of the Bitcoin bulls are getting excited by that.
Well, I don't think they ever stop being excited, do they? So Global Alpha, we put the buy out on Micron. We're very happy in the chip space overall. And look, the investment thesis really is a 50% leap versus the prior 3 months in the quarterly sales of their high bandwidth memory chips. So they're a pretty key component to AI data centers. And look, I think they'll obviously continue to go. Like anything to do with AI, I think for us, I think the three things that stick out to me that are just no-brainers for the next 2 to 3 years is anything to do with AI, whether it be data centers, powering it, chips, or whatever. And then probably more so, I don't think it'll be, software for a couple of years, but it'll be the building blocks, the foundation, defense, and the US dollar continuing to erode against either stores of value, gold, silver, and I think it'll help as you're talking about Bitcoin. That crypto adoption is going to be very much helped along by the US dollar. You cannot run up it cracked 37 trillion in the last few weeks, and they've just passed a bill that's going to add 3 to 5 trillion to it. And Trump's answer to it was, we'll solve it by growth. So and even if he's right, that takes years.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a moment where the world goes, let me get the hell out of the US dollar. The BRICS summit is on Monday.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yes. So that will be China, Russia, and South Africa, who have all been picked on and told off by Trump. That'll be their little opportunity to invite 30 of their, 30 countries to a summit and sit there and pretty much have the easiest job in history of crapping on the US's behaviour. And so that'll be when they do a little bit of their chest beating and a bit of their. So I've wondered why they've been so quiet. I think they might show a very united front against the US this time around. So that'll be something to watch out for on Monday.
Yeah. So just since I'm a technical guy, so one thing I have noticed with American stocks, and obviously we've had a record bounce from the lows, is that when they do gap up and they follow through, they keep going. So I think our aim is to get on some of these runners and just
I think that momentum strategy you've been running for years, or screening you've been running for years, I dare say you run it over the US, you make at least 3 times more money.
Absolutely.
But hence that's what we're doing, and we're trying to farm that out to the clients and get them involved, because there's no point kicking a sloth and expecting it to move. Get on a cheetah. So
well, that's it. I mean, global alpha will be the way to go. US stocks for all the clients involved, and you can execute yourself, or if you'd like your sleep, get one of us to do it.
Well, that's exactly right. So if you want to stay up till 1 o'clock in the morning, be my guest and execute yourself.
Because so at the moment, it's not too bad because the US stock market opens at 11:30, which is okay. But as you said, during summer, the actual opening time is 1:30 a.m. And that's a big difference. That's a much different proposition.
Yes. So
1% doesn't sound too bad now.
Yeah. So make one of our young blokes stay up till 1 in the morning instead. But just for the record, I won't be staying up to execute your order. That is, it's good to be the king. Now,
but you get up early, so if there's anything on the close,
I'll end up doing it when we get to summer, because I get here at 6 in the morning. But we do have another trade of the week. It is in the PDF version, and so it was one that I'd worked on in the past. It was a crypto and blockchain leaders structured investment. So you've got to be a sophisticated investor for this one. But it's a basket of Bitcoin, Solana, and Ethereum. And it is basically everyone's aversion to this is, Bitcoin has halved before, or it's gone, we've got to 109,000, went back to 30. So it is more stable these days, but people don't want to dip their toe in without knowing what the risks are and where it lies. So we pulled together this package, which is basically capital protected. So last time we got prices, it was around about a month ago, and we ended up trying to got on the defence thematic before that, because it was a little bit more probably urgency around it. But we're going to use an example here of you get 4.4 times the upside, so it's a leveraged exposure. And you put down about $22,000 to get $100,000 exposure, essentially.
Yep.
So you can only lose the $22,000. So obviously you can put down $2,200 to get $10,000.
Yep.
That's the smallest clip you can do. But it's a good way for you just to dip your toe in the water, essentially. And then the first 20% that it rallies pays off the strategy. And then from
which is an overnight move in Bitcoin, sometimes.
Precisely. And then from that point, you're getting 4.5 times leverage and it's uncapped. So
what's the time limit on
that? 2 years.
2 years.
So you get 2 years to. So I mean, we can go shorter time frames. We would get slightly better leverage because obviously you've got.
No, I think 2 years is a nice number because, like, obviously, Trump's. How long?
He's very pro crypto. They get 4 years.
Yeah.
So he'll be pumping crypto because he'll, Trump coins his retirement plan.
Yeah.
So I think but just in talking to the clients, we do think it's appropriate to have a 1% minimum allocation of some form of crypto in your portfolio.
Oh yes, absolutely. What did you call it? Physical? No.
Yes, no. It was very funny. One of the Bloomberg reporters called gold
physical
Bitcoin, and so that is what I am forever calling gold now. Is just physical Bitcoin. But so it's a good mix of these three. Over a 5-year period, these things rallied 1,300%, just about each. Yeah. So we don't expect that. I think the asset class has matured quite significantly. I won't be expecting, but like 20% is it's a week. And you're marked by the worst of the basket, basically, which is why you get the leverage as well. But it's just a nice way to have a fairly conservative exposure where your downside is capped. You can only lose what you put in. But if it goes, and these things can double, you're getting 400% instead of 100%. So, which is a bit of a no-brainer, really.
It makes total sense.
And your counterparty is one of our investment bank counterparties. It may be BNP Paribas, Marex, it may be Citigroup, it may be Macquarie. But having an OTC deal with these guys is probably safer than most crypto platforms, to be honest.
Because the thing is, you don't have to worry about your, what do you call them, the keys.
The keys and the counterparty risk and all that sort of crap.
It's not like you have to have your 20 seed phrase to get your money back from this. So
and it's not sucking up a lot of capital. So if you've got $1 million portfolio, you've got to put that 10 grand towards it to get a 1% exposure. Mm-hmm. Well, you get to put down, or if you've got a $10 million portfolio, you get to put down less capital and you still get the exposure if it goes up. But look, if it all goes to hell in a handbasket, which I don't think it remotely will. I think it'll be the only way is really up for this asset class, particularly to do with the US dollar and a president who's happy for the US dollar to get hammered. I think it's a pretty good way, capital efficient way to get an exposure to the sector. So the explainer document alone is about 12 pages long. I don't normally do that long of an explainer document. But I think for anyone who's even interested in crypto and interested in blockchain, it's a good education.
Yeah, if you are crypto curious, basically.
Yeah, because there's some pretty good investment thesis. I mean, even if I do say so myself, I wrote it. But look, there's a lot of really key arguments in there as to why we think this. And so, worst case scenario, reading through the document, I think you'll probably learn something about crypto and particularly the differentiation of blockchain as well, because they're two different things. They just happen to have the same technology backing them. So, well worth a read. You can register. There'll be a link in the PDF, and you just sign up, register your interest, and we can have a chat about it then. But we got fear and greed.
Fear and greed. Extreme greed.
Wow.
So we are. Because this thing was like
stop. I said I'm waiting for it to get there.
Yeah. So this is the first peak above extreme greed. One thing I've noticed is the volatility is like super low. What we call options. Oh, is that extreme greed? Wow.
Yeah, basically no one's buying downside coverage.
No one's buying downside. But we have been here before. And we do have an event next week that could sway the market. So interesting time. So with that, I'll let you go first. Bullish or bearish for next week?
So bearish. Yeah, he's got 97 trade deals to get done over the long weekend. Like, and the other three don't. And I think people underestimate like what the US has done in the last 3 months. They've started a trade war. Mm-hmm. They've bombed a country. Trump's just threatening everyone known to man, and the stock market's gone up. Like, I think there's some really vicious chickens come home to roost in the next week potentially.
Yeah.
Because if the world just turns around and and ignores Trump, which is kind of what they've been doing, what's he going to do? Because if he extends, everyone will be like, so I think we're coming into earnings season. Not next week. Next week there's bugger all out. But
the week after the banks. I think the Friday's when the banks start. So I don't know the exact date. So I'm on the other side to you. I think it goes higher again.
Yeah.
And the only reason that is they've got a nice long weekend, 4th of July. For some reason, every time, this is just my observation, every time the market comes back from a holiday, it tends to rally. So
July is one of the best months seasonally of the year in the US.
And I think Tucker, I think Trump will somehow convince it that, we're going to push the can down the road and not get any deals done and just say, it's still okay. So I just think the market just continues higher. That's my because I'm a momentum guy. So that's my.
I'm gonna revise my decision. No. I think it's got more to go. But I think it'll turn nasty.
Oh, it will turn nasty, but I just think that we've got the holiday week, we got earnings, which I told you for some reason they're going to beat every stock by a penny.
Yeah,
and so if there is going to be a fall, it won't be in July.
I think this can get to somewhere in the mid 80s.
Yes.
And then that'll be the pivot point.
Because I think it's too. I mean, because this is the first peek into the extreme greed. And, don't underestimate.
I'm big on my.
As they say in Scarface, don't underestimate the other guy's greed.
Yeah, but
so I think it can. But that's just me. We'll see what the market does.
Yeah, I am going to go bullish.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm changing my mind. However, I think it's a very big risk week. It could be. But I think he tends to. I think the deadlines will get there, and he'll avoid the media, and then he'll say something silly on the weekend. Yeah. So my timing will be out by a couple of days, I reckon. So I'm going to go bullish because I think this will get to 85 or something before it goes the other way. And the BRICS nations, there's no way that even people in the US even know what that is. So, but
we're number one.
But yeah, it always goes at least a little bit longer, I think. So, but look, I think that pretty much wraps it up for now. The Global Alpha podcast is going to be on Mondays from here on in. And Kai is going to keep the boys under control in that one. The two Richards, Richard Squared. And so we'll probably have that. We're going to have that release on the Monday as opposed to releasing two on the same day. The old blokes here, we'll just keep doing what we're doing.
Good old Australian market.
Yeah. Get bored out of our brain. We spent most of the time talking about crypto. So you'll be able to catch that starting off. We did a couple of test runs. That'll be a little shorter version, but it'll be starting off as of next week. And for those of you who are interested in the US market, get on board. And also the morning report that we do now is I do podcast version every day as well. Released about 20 past 8. It's just a bit of a wrap up. So usually 5 minutes to 10 minutes tops. Okay. So if you prefer to digest your morning reports in audio format, which was more request from people who read it rather than me wanting to do that because it's a bit of a pain in the butt, to be brutally honest. But yeah, so you can get that on Spotify, Apple, iTunes, YouTube, etc. You can sign up wherever. Enjoy your weekend, folks. If you're American, happy Independence Day.
Yeah, and enjoy that long weekend.
Indeed.